Dudes, what's happening? This is Trent, and I am in Hawaii. We're on the Big Island, and I did get a chance though while I'm on my trip. I wanted to upload a couple of videos. I wanted to do some arts for you dudes. So I cooked up a little bit of just some Wolverine sketches in Sketchbook Pro. Nothing super fancy or spectacular in any way, but I was trying some different art styles, and so I thought, well, hey, I'll record it, and I wanted to try to do some more Sketchbook Pro stuff for you guys because that seems to be one of the bigger requests people have been asking. I think it's a very accessible program. It's very similar to just sketching on paper, and so it's also something that's very affordable, and it's something that a lot of people can get their hands on very easily. Photoshop can be expensive endeavor to to get a copy of Photoshop. I don't know. I think they have like a monthly fee for that, but Sketchbook Pro is like it's like a flat rate fee and it's very affordable. I think it's like 25 or 30 bucks or something like that. Pretty good deal for everything that you get. I mean, it's professional level, professional level tool that you're working with here. And it's actually very similar to working with paper. Any of these things that I do in Sketchbook Pro, pretty much you can follow along if you're like trying to learn to draw or improve your drawing. You can do on paper as well. One of the things that I'm doing with the structure of this sketch is first thing I wanted to do was really just line up where the nose fits, where the eyes fit, and then kind of like where the jawline fits. And one of the things you'll notice is I started out with a circle and then I drew a line down the middle, and that's sort of my central angle of the face that I'm drawing. And then I kind of put lines in where, across that circle where the eye line would be, halfway, usually about halfway between where the eye line and, well, the eye line falls right in the middle of the head. And then, so halfway down from the top to the bottom is about where your eyes are going to be, depending on the different features of your face that you're drawing, the characteristics. And when you start to get into like doing studies of faces, you'll begin to notice that some people have eyes that are wider apart. Or if you play games where you get to customize your character, you'll notice little subtleties, and you can start to incorporate those into your drawings based on this measuring tool. But as a standard, it would be right down the middle of that circle is where your eye line is going to be. And then you go about halfway between there and the mouth. And well, halfway between the eye line and the lower chin is going to be pretty much where your nose is going to be. And then halfway between there and your chin is going to be around where the mouth line would be, or just slightly above. Then I started adding in a lot of the features. I'm really just playing around with different brushes here. Mostly I stuck with the number 2 brush that sort of simulates like an ink brush. This kind of got me a little bit of a sumie kind of a flavor. And this particular style, you're going to see me draw about 3 different versions of Wolverine here, and using different art styles. This one's kind of inspired by Yoji Shinkawa. And then I was like, gosh, this is like kind of tough to do. His style is very almost realistic proportions on everything and very implied shadow areas. And then I was like, I want to do something that I can just jam on, that I feel really confident in. And I tend to gravitate more towards stylistic kind of stuff and really breaking down the shapes into its simplest form. So I almost start with like a skull type of a shape, and then I start to kind of fill in what I'm going to do with the hair to really make the hair really defines Wolverine in a lot of ways. As I was doing it, I kept glancing over at my first version, and I was like, I'm gonna like drop in some shadows there. And one of the things that Yoji Shinkawa does, if you're not familiar, he was the conceptual designer on all of the Metal Gear Solid games since 1997, 98, I think. And one of my biggest inspirations, I mean, the guy is amazing. Very stylized kind of brushwork, sumie style. It's a Japanese brush technique. But he uses a lot of negative space. And so I started to dig in with more negative space as I got into doing the painting. With this particular, or the sketch. With this particular one, though, the second one that I started doing that's a little bit more stylized, in a lot of ways, I kind of feel like I should have not gone as far as I did. Like where it's at right now in the timeline looks better than where it looks in the end version, and you'll see what I mean. Going back to the Yoji Shinkawa inspired style, you'll notice that I started darkening in the shadows down the middle of the face. This gets complicated to explain. And then I start cutting out areas of the hair where there would be like negative space, and to create a very interesting kind of a silhouette. that implies lighting. It implies a strong lighting on his, I guess, his right side, which would be our left, and also actually on both sides, and then a shadow, a core shadow right down the middle to really kind of define those shapes and how the cheekbone pops out and how the eyebrow is going to pop out. And then I put a lot more detail in certain areas, such as the eyes and the eyelids, and then strengthened out my shadows. But it all started from that core, like that circle that I had created, and defining where the eye line rests, where the mouth rests, where the nose is going to sit on that. That's where it all started. And then the awesome thing about Sketchbook Pro is all the texture brushes. So I'm dancing around between, different chalky kind of brushes and more brushes that have a little bit more, I guess, grain and grit to them, And I don't really edit the brushes. These are pretty standard brushes that come with Sketchbook Pro. So in a lot of ways, it's like if you were doing this with pencil, you'd have to have a really grainy paper and turn your pencil on the side and kind of use the flat part of the brush. I was just really going crazy with the details here, just kind of like adding stuff in all over the place. Another trick that I like to do when I'm doing shading is I'll create a new layer, and I'm still using just black, straight like solid black, and I will create a multiply layer or just use it as a normal layer, but then I'll drop the opacity down to about 50-40%, and that makes a gray kind of a layer. So then I did that a third time, or a second time, I guess, and then that created another layer of depth to make it even darker. But what I kind of lost was that secondary light, and I think that if I go in and I add some color to this, I'll probably like add a little bit of bounce light coming from that bottom right to turn the forms and pop out his cheekbone a little bit more, maybe pop out the edge of his sideburns, More importantly, I mean, I was just doodling around. We're kicking it by the beach. I've got an incredible view. I tried to capture it in the video, but it just blew out the whole thing. You can't really see it. Check out my Twitter if you want to see pictures of my Hawaii trip, or add me on Facebook. I've posted a bunch of photos up there. We're just having an awesome time decompressing. I've been putting together a game pitch, which we're like shopping around to publishers, and I've been really stressed out. So it really feels good to be out here in what is essentially paradise as far as I'm concerned. And just enjoying the weather and the beaches and whatnot. So it was really fun to just kind of do some Wolverine sketches. No stress, no pressure. To get back to some of the techniques I'm using, you just saw me do like a selection tool, and then I copied it and pasted it. I don't know that Sketchbook Pro is like, I think that every version they improve their selection tools, but sometimes it takes a little bit of getting used to. I've got a background mostly in Photoshop and traditional drawing, so it takes a little bit of time to really get those tools down. You'll notice that I wanted to make his face more squat. I wanted to get a little bit of that Hugh Jackman kind of a look, because he's just got that, like a little bit more of a squat face, the way that he does his. He kind of looks like Wolverine in that way, and so I wanted to really try to capture that essence of like I mean, Wolverine was a tank. You know what I mean? He's a shorter guy with and I guess Hugh Jackman is I keep saying Hugh Jackman, but I think he's more of like a taller guy. So it's a little strange that he's supposed to play this character who's one of the shortest superheroes in the X-Men, but anyway. I wanted to capture the feeling that this character is a bit of a tank. He's kind of a heavier guy, more wide and heavy based, but he's still very muscular. Do you know what I'm saying? In the second version here, I started kind of adding like the collar, giving him a little bit of that like maybe a leather jacket kind of a feel. But and I think all these will look pretty cool when I finally get around to doing adding a little bit of color to them. I might do it tonight. I've been trying to just take like an hour. I think this whole thing was about an hour before my battery died, just kicking it in the lobby and sketching. This one, the last version, is probably the most stylized, and I handle it the most confidently, I think. There were no like accidental things. This is like if Wolverine was in Twilight Monk, so to speak. And the reason I say that is because like I think of Twilight Monk like it's my most natural state. Like that's the way I naturally draw. You know what I mean? If you see something in Twilight Monk, it's like that's my comfort zone, baby. And it's usually because I can kick out ideas pretty quickly in my own comfort zone, my own art style that I feel confident in. I think that's a good thing for an artist to find. Like, what is your baseline? What is your art style? You know, uh, I've gone through different phases in my career where I'm like, should I try to draw more realistic? When I was working on Ghost Rider, Joe Quesada, who I spoke with at length for that period of time when I was working on that series, you know, he was like, "Hey, could you maybe kick out like a little bit more realistic type of stuff?" And I was like, "Well, yeah, I guess I can try." But when you see me do it, it's like I struggled through it because my deadlines got to be very pressing, and I was trying to spend more time working on it while simultaneously not really able to capture a more realistic look. And so I feel like the quality suffered for that, you know, and but it was still good. It was good, a good challenge for me to try to do. And it's good to do these stylistic explorations now and then. Really check out artists that you like and kind of just see if you can integrate a little bit of what you like about their work into your own work. And you might find that it really changes you. It changes your perception. It changes how you approach things, how you approach the structure underneath. You'll notice, like with this last piece, I didn't start with a circle. I started with the eyes. That's my comfort zone. I wanted to get a good line on this between brows to between the cheekbones, and then how wide is the jaw. You get these like shapes in there, and I like to draw with shapes. It's one of my strengths, and I think that's why I worked pretty well in the low poly era of the game development. You know, is because I like to work with breakdown shapes. Very sort of a strength of mine, and I feel like anyway. But now I'm trying to do a lot more studies. You'll notice. Anyways, that about wraps up all of my Wolverine explorations just for these sketches in Sketchbook Pro. I hope this is useful for you, and you know, if you like what I do on my channel, you know, please subscribe. And I'm going to probably kick out a couple more videos while I'm here in Hawaii, hopefully, and so I've been posting a lot more frequently. It's something I love to do, and I thank you guys so much for stopping by. And you know, until the next video, I'll catch y'all mañana bond. And as always, remember to draw with passion. So important. Draw with passion, guys. All right. See you next time. Bye.